Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today we have a doozy of an episode for you because we are going through all three of the major trifecta and predicting them. And I'm just going to say straight up, I have zero knowledge of the trifecta. I just look at the awards each year. So I did a little bit of research, but I don't feel great about this. So we'll see as we get in. But before we dive in, if you are new here, consider subscribing, dropping a like, dropping a comment. Helps us, helps you, because you know you want to score those sweet gold derby points. We kind of have a good track record with some other places. Here, though, maybe you're better than me. So take it away.
We don't have a good track record with the Gothams, though. Oh my God.
Gothams, we're not talking about the Gothams.
Let's not address that. I got 1 out of 7 right. Dear Lord.
I got 2 or 3. I don't remember. I just know I got Melton right, and that's all that mattered.
You got 2. Ouch. That's fine. Anyways, we're talking about the trifecta today, and what the trifecta is for anyone out there who does not know yet. Well, let me bless you with the knowledge. The trifecta is composed of the 3 largest and most important film critics associations throughout the United States. That is the New York Film Critics Circle, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association, and the National Society of Film Critics. So these 3 bodies of critics are always the most prestigious because one of them is in New York, big major cultural hub. One of them is in LA, which is where Hollywood is, big movie hub. And then the National Society of Film Critics, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what makes them them, but they sound important, and they are important. Do. These awards are often very indicative of what ends up happening later on through the season. For example, when Drive My Car won all 3 of these awards, we knew we have to take this seriously, don't we? So that's why we're predicting these today. The first one is happening on November 30th. Then the Los Angeles Film Critics Association happens December 10th. Finally, the National Society of Film Critics happens on January 6th. We're going to predict all of them right now. We're going to see what categories we're calling for a sweep in, what categories we are all over the place with, because sometimes these line up. Sometimes they don't. We're going to go category by category, and let's start with the big one, Best Film. First off, let's talk the New York Film Critics Circle. In the past 5 years, they've given it to Roma, The Irishman, First Cow, Drive My Car, and Tar. Based on those 5, I see that they kind of like those higher brow movies. Roma, First Cow, Drive My Car, even The Irishman. I mean, that tells me that they really like Scorsese. So maybe they could go with Killers, but I'm not going to predict that. Instead, what I'm going to go with here is The Zone of Interest.
I think that is a great pick because I'm copying you with The Zone of Interest as well. Maybe there's a little personal bias. I want Zone of Interest to rack up some awards for my film ball team so I can feel more confident about it being Best Picture. But you mentioned Drive My Car. The Zone of Interest sounds like it could have that same type of route to get its way into Best Picture.
It's perfect for this type of group, and if we see Zone of Interest have a really strong showing with these sorts of critic groups, specifically the trifecta, then that really indicates that the Oscars will probably go for it too. So let's move on to the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. These guys, I was gonna say that they're a little bit more populist, but I'm actually not getting that vibe looking at the list of the last 5 winners. In 2018, they did Roma as well. 2019, they went with Parasite. 2020, they went with Small Axe, the TV series by Steve McQueen. 2021, Drive My Car. And last year, they did a tie between Tar and Everything Everywhere All at Once. They are artsy. However, they're not afraid to go for something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, something a little bit more populist, something a little bit more for the mainstream audiences. And for that reason, I think I'm leaning towards Oppenheimer.
I promise I will not just copy Matt in every one of these categories. I also have Oppenheimer, but looking at some other years in the past gives a little bit more, sense for what you're talking about, where they can lean populist. Gravity won 2013, The Social Network in 2010, then you have something like WALL-E in 2008, Letters from Iwo Jima in 2006, and it goes on and on. So it's not they're always doing these highbrow, artsy type movies. And then you know what? Oppenheimer kind of fits both those categories. It checks off the populist type movie as well as appealing to some more of those highbrow critics.
It's just a toss-up between, do they go highbrow this year? Do we get another 2020 Small Axe, or do we get the populist movie? Do they go with Oppenheimer? I am leaning towards this is a more populist year for them, so we'll see. But then we have the National Society of Film Critics, and their past 5 years, they have done Tar last year, Drive My Car 2021, which you can see both Tar and Drive My Car both won all 3. They swept the trifecta. I'm not predicting that this year, although it's definitely a possibility. 2020, they did Nomadland. 2019, they did Parasite. So worth noting, in 2019, 2 out of 3 groups did Parasite, and New York broke that with The Irishman. And then in 2018, they did The Rider. So from The Rider, Parasite, Nomadland, Drive My Car, Tar, what I'm getting is these guys like their art films. They like stuff that are a little bit slower. So I'm going zone of interest here. That said, they're not always criticky. They did Lady Bird in 2017. They did Moonlight 2016, Spotlight 2015. It's possible these guys go with something like Oppenheimer as well, but I feel really strongly about zone of interest with this group in particular.
I mean, you just talked about it a little bit there. They go critically, but, with a little bit of flavor to it. And that's why I'm going with Poor Things. It appeals to some more of those highbrow critics, while also having a little bit of flavor, like a Moonlight, like a Lady Bird, and like a Parasite as well. I'm reaching a little bit here with Poor Things. Maybe it's not the number 1, maybe it's not the number 2, but I don't want to copy on everything. And here's where I feel like taking a big swing.
I'm thinking if zone of interest doesn't win New York, Poor Things does. I really tossed up for a long time. Poor Things absolutely could win one of the trifecta, if not 2, or even 3. We could see another sweep this year and have Poor Things walk away with it. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think we get a sweep this year, no matter what. These awards are kind of informed by each other, and since we've just had 2 years in a row where Drive My Car swept and Tar swept, I don't think we're going to see a sweep this year. I think that they are going to all go in a different direction, or we're going to see 2 out of 3 go the same with 1 splitting off from the crowd. Now, let's go to Best Director, where let's start with New York Film Critics Circle. They went with Alfonso Cuarón in 2018, the Safdie brothers for Uncut Gems in 2019, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland 2020, 2021, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, and last year, the very inspired pick of S.S. Rajamouli for RRR. So, what do we think they go with this year? They like some of those more indie picks, but sometimes they go with the sweeper. Are they going to go with Christopher Nolan? Or are they going to go with like a Jonathan Glazer or someone totally out of left field?
They don't really have much consistency. I mean, a Rajamouli to a Zhao is not much parallel there. And, I kind of want to go insane here and be like, oh my gosh, Bradley Cooper wins director. He's not winning actor. He's winning director. He's for real in the race. But I'm not going to go that crazy. I will just go with Nolan, play it safe. But if Bradley Cooper wins director here, watch out.
Bradley Cooper totally could pop up. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think New York's going to go for Maestro just because it's about Leonard Bernstein. The New York bias might show more with Killers of the Flower Moon getting an award or 2. So instead of predicting any Scorsese, I'm going to say Yorgos Lanthimos takes this.
So that moves us over to the LA Film Critics, and you talk about a sweeper. Nolan continues here as well.
Yeah, I have Nolan here as well, but the last 5 they went with. In 2018, they went with Deborah Granick for Leave No Trace, then Bong Joon-ho, 2019, Chloe Zhao, 2020 for Nomadland, Jane Campion, 2021, Power of the Dog, and Todd Field for Tar last year. So yeah, these guys outside of Deborah Granick, they normally go with something that is top tier for directing or picture, and sometimes is even their winner in Best Picture. So yeah, I'm going with Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer here too. If I put it in picture for them, I'm putting it here as well for LA.
And that moves us over to the National Society of Film Critics, and we differed here in Best Film, and that kind of parallels over to Best Director as well. We're doing a little flip-flop. You had Zone winning film, I have it winning director. I had Poor Things winning film, you have it winning director.
Yes, so the last 5 years in this category, 2018, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. 2019, Greta Gerwig for Little Women. She also won for Lady Bird, so damn, maybe they're really going to like Barbie. That is a really good shout. 2020, they gave it to Chloe Zhao. 2021, Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car. And last year, Charlotte Wells for After Sun. That's a pretty eclectic mix. I think I'm still going to go Yorgos Lanthimos here, although Greta Gerwig for Barbie looks pretty damn compelling.
It does, but this is the highbrow group. Are they going to be the ones to stretch for Barbie?
They did Lady Bird and Little Women.
But those aren't as populous. I don't know. If it happens, great for her. I would love to see Greta Gerwig like cement herself in the race where people be like, oh my gosh, she is for real. I know you and I think she's for real, but you'd be surprised how many people out there who don't even have her top 7.
You know what else I'm realizing here? The National Society of Film Critics seems to be making a very concentrated effort to reward women in the last 5 to 10 years. Actually, no, just since Greta Gerwig won in 2017 for Lady Bird. Since 2017, they have given 4 out of their 6 awards since 2017 to women. So maybe Celine Song gets this.
I think more so than Song, I think would be maybe Trier, but regardless, if someone does get it,
that's compelling.
That would be cool. I'm staying with Glazer, but I would say Trier would be my backup.
No,
for here,
actually,
after you bring up
you
that
know
stat.
what? After you say that, I'm going... So picture I'm sticking with Zone of Interest, and I'm saying Justine Trier wins. That makes so much sense to me. I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it. Let's roll with it. Let's lock it in.
So that moves us over to actor. And a few weeks ago, whenever we recorded our acting predictions, I was like, Andrew Scott winning 2 or 3? No way. Well, guess what? I have him winning 2 or 3.
Yeah, I told you, my dude. It just makes so much sense.
I looked at the stats and I was like, yeah. I mean, the only reason if I wouldn't have him winning 2 or 3 is if I put in Bradley Cooper, but I don't want to believe Bradley Cooper is actually winning actor, so I don't have Cooper winning any of these. And I guess to talk about all 3 of these at once, I have Scott winning at New York and at National Society of Film Critic, and I have the Oppenheimer sweep taking over the LA Film Critics Association because I have Cillian Murphy winning one of the 2 lead acting performances at this body.
Yeah, I have exactly the same as you, actually. I have Andrew Scott taking Best Actor at New York and at the National Society of Film Critics. And then, the Oppenheimer sweep continues for LA. Cillian Murphy takes it. So we are completely the same on that one. So let's move to Best Actress, where I'm going to say at New York, Sandra Hüller takes Best Actress for Anatomy and Zone of Interest.
That you say it makes a lot of sense, but I don't have Poor Things winning film or director. It's going to win something big there. So Emma Stone makes sense, but I like the shout for Hüller winning a double award, because are they the ones that did it for Colin Farrell last year for Banshees and for After Yang, or was that a different body?
Yes, so last year they did Colin Farrell for After Yang, Banshees of Inisherin, and in the actress category they did Regina Hall for Support the Girls. Very cool shout. Lupita Nyong'o for Us, also a very cool shout. Sydney Flanagan, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Lady Gaga, House of Gucci. I remember the meltdown over that one.
Gucci.
And then Cate Blanchett for Tar. So
that makes me want to go someone not like Stone or Hüller.
Yeah,
that makes
they
me
go
like
like
someone like a little
weird.
bit further down in the actress category. I mean, Spaney's the first one that jumps out to me, but she doesn't really match up with any of the other winners in the past.
You know who does match up with the winners of the past?
Who does?
Teyana Taylor.
Yeah, I guess she matches up with Flanagan and Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. The other ones that are all
Support
like
the Girls,
genre-type
Regina Hall.
Because all the other ones are like genre type performances. I was trying to think of, do we have like a horror queen this year in the lead actress category? But we don't have that. But Stone brings the comedy though. That could be seen as like a genre type performance.
Well, but they did go with Cate Blanchett last year, so you know what? Can't...
You spoke some truth into me. Give me some Teyana Taylor. I need a reason to believe that she is still a top 10 for actress.
Go for it. Let's lock it in. Then at the LA Film Critics Association, they do the double. So we both locked in Cillian Murphy for one of the 2 leads. I'm going to go with Emma Stone for the other one.
Me too. And originally I did have a Stone sweep. Because at the National Society of Film Critics, I have Emma Stone winning the Actress Award here. And like Blanchett did sweep last year, so I was like, maybe Stone could do it again. But that's too boring to predict. Who likes predicting sweeps? That's lame. But you know, a cool possible spoiler here could be Lily Gladstone. But I think Emma Stone probably has this in the bag.
Emma Stone also looks really good for the National Society of Film Critics, where I do think they're really going to like Poor Things. That said, they're also really going to like Barbie because they love Greta Gerwig, so maybe Margot Robbie takes it here. But instead, I'm going to just stick with Emma Stone.
And that brings us over to supporting actor, where I think a lot of people will love Barbie and Ryan Gosling, because doing a little bit reverse order here at National Society of Film Critics, you do have Gosling winning your supporting prize.
I do, yeah. I mean, they love Greta Gerwig. They went all in for Lady Bird, all in for Little Women. I think that they are going to give Barbie 1 or 2 prizes. So Ryan Gosling takes it here. And I also have Ryan Gosling taking one of the supporting wins at the LA Film Critics Association. That said, I do think that Charles Melton is going to win it at New York. And if not Charles Melton, I'm going to say it'd be Robert De Niro.
I mean, I would love either of them to win. The Melton train kicked off at the Gothams the other day, and I think it continues at New York as well at the National Society of Film Critics. But at the LA Film Critics Circle, I do have it going with the Oppenheimer suite. Maybe that's lame, but Robert Downey Jr. I have in that category. So I have Oppenheimer winning supporting lead, director, and film. That seems kind of crazy, but they.
Well, you should have seen how they went out for Tar last year, because LA when they like a movie, they will go in for it. Like, Tar got such a buff in our film ball game last year because of fucking LA giving it every single award and not spreading the love whatsoever.
Well, that brings us over, instead of supporting actor, we have supporting actress, and here's where we can kind of get a little spicy because there is no frontrunner here. We both seen Color Purple, and I don't think either of us would say either the supporting actresses are like clear head and shoulders frontrunner sweeping the category.
I disagree with you on that. I think that it has become very clear, the way that people are talking about Danielle Brooks, that she is the frontrunner. No question. She is winning the Oscar. I've even seen some people online say it is locked for Danielle Brooks.
Yeah, well, that's
I wouldn't go that far.
I want to wait for the movie to come out.
But that said, this is a video about Critics Awards, and one thing The Color Purple is not going to get is big, hoity-toity, important Critics Awards. Danielle Brooks, she may sweep, but she will not sweep here. She could win one of the awards, but I would not count on it. And this is a hard one, because what do they do here? Maybe one of these groups is going to swing for Lily Gladstone and say that she's a supporting role.
I think so.
I think it's very, very, very possible that they do that. But I think that they might lean for stuff like Sandra Hüller. I have Sandra Hüller winning at the LA Film Critics Association, and I also have Hüller winning at the National Society of Film Critics. So technically, I have Hüller getting a trifecta sweep. Who do I have winning New York supporting, though? I think I got to go with Claire Foy for All of Us Strangers. But that said, you're making a compelling choice here with Penelope Cruz. So what's your reasoning for Penelope Cruz?
Chaos. New York, they do chaos sometimes, and I think Cruz is someone who
Lady Gaga.
If you're going for like a critical angle, there's not really any of those categories you can really like plug. Maybe you make the case for Foy, but there's no real critic consensus pick unless you're gonna fraud in Lily Gladstone, which New York could. They love Scorsese. Like, hey, we want to give Killers of the Flower Moon something. Maybe it's here, but I'm not gonna predict that here. What I am gonna do is Cruz, because like you just said, Lady Gaga, they go crazy sometimes. Penelope Cruz would like it. Also, I wouldn't be shocked at a Julianne Moore win for May December, but are they gonna win both supporting prizes? I don't think so.
Julianne Moore would totally make sense for New York, but honestly, New York, I think they could go with something really inspired here. Actually, often what we see is when categories don't have a very clear frontrunner, we see these critics do something wild, something a little bit crazy, something where they try to will something into existence and say, we don't really agree with the consensus, so let's just do something out there and try to shift the consensus to something else.
I mean, that could kind of work for Cruz. It could kind of work for Moore. Neither of them are top 5 in most people's opinions at the moment. Last year, like, no one could have saw Keke Palmer when she won her supporting prize, but there's just no one this year that really screams like, oh, maybe. Like, Rachel McAdams, I just don't see Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret being the type of movie to get something here. She's that type of performance so that people do love, like, oh, they can pluck it out. But I talk about Julianne Moore. I do have her winning at LA Film Critics. Maybe I should flip-flop Cruz and Moore at the 2 places, but that's where I have them at the moment. And at the National Society of Film Critics, I have our category fraud here for Lily Gladstone and Killers of the Flower Moon. As we've seen with the Gothams, I know the Gothams are a small body, but people really want to award her. If they can find a place for her, maybe she does win over Stone and the lead actress, but I mean, you talk about willing something into existence. Be like, hey, Apple, I know that you won her lead. I know that Lily Gladstone wants to be lead, but we're going to push you back and supporting like they did with Lakeith Stanfield a few years ago. I know none of these film critics did. The Oscars did that, but a similar type feel. If
Lily Gladstone wins a trifecta prize, I don't think it'll be in supporting. I think it would be at the New York Film Critics Circle. She would boot Sandra Hüller out in my pick. and Sandra Hüller would instead win Best Supporting Actress for Zone of Interest.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So changing for the third time tonight, we're going to put Gladstone as my winner at New York Film Critics, and Taylor is gone. And now in the supporting at the National Society of Film Critics, I will put Hüller.
Let's move on to the Screenplay category. And this one is actually really, really hard. I don't know what they're going to do at really all of these. But the first thing I will say is, because National Society of Film Critics loves Greta Gerwig so much, she has won so many goddamn prizes from that group. I'm going to say she gets one for Barbie.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe. I originally had Oppenheimer winning here because as I look, I don't have Oppenheimer winning anything else in the National Society of Film Critics. So it would make sense they want to recognize Oppenheimer. But your case for Greta Gerwig, it swayed me here. Maybe not in film or director, supporting actor, but here in screenplay, I do buy it.
At LA Film Critics Association, I have Oppenheimer winning a ton there, but I don't think it's going to win screenplay as well. And instead, I think I'm going to go with Anatomy of a Fall.
I like it. I still have Barbie at LA, but going over to New York, I am hopping back onto the Oppenheimer train.
I might be inclined to agree with you. Oppenheimer for New York. What has New York done over the past few years in this category? They did First Reformed, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Licorice Pizza, The Banshees of Inisherin, and Oppenheimer kind of fits in that list. I could see Oppenheimer get it. So yeah, let's go with Oppenheimer. Let's lock it in. Woo! Okay, that's most of the big prizes. We can rush through these a little bit more. And we're just going on vibes here. What's the vibe? So, Best Cinematography. At New York, I want to say they're going to give Scorsese something. So I'm going to say Killers of the Flower Moon gets Best Cinematography.
I have Gladstone winning here, so in cinematography, I am going with Zone because you talk about critics want to push something. They can push Zone of Interest into top 5 for cinematography because there is a top 6 someone has to miss. And I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be Killers of the Flower Moon, but that's not what this video is about. And honestly, looking at some of these other places, I also have Zone winning at the National Society of Film Critics, but I am going wild. I am going off the rails for LA Film Critics because we talk about, I should be smart. They should just go Oppenheimer here. They're awarding Oppenheimer everywhere else. But I want to be crazy. I want to be wild, and I want to go with something because they went international last year with EO. They can go off the rails. So give me some Society of the Snow.
Ooh, Society of the Snow is a great shout. But yes, I am going to do a 3 split here where I will go at National Society. I'm going to agree with you, Zone of Interest. And then for LA, I'm going to go with Maestro. But that said, I could totally see Oppenheimer winning one of these. I could totally see Poor Things winning one of these. Those are the two that I think are the front runner for the Oscar, and I don't actually have either of them winning one of these awards. No, I'm not concerned about that.
I do agree. One of those two will walk away with the Oscars, but that's not what this predictions is all about. So let's speed through a category where we know our Oscar winner, but maybe we don't know our winner at these film critics, and that is animated film, because at New York, I'm going Spider-Verse. Are you?
I'm going Spider-Verse here. They were the first people that put Into the Spider-Verse on the map. It premiered like 2 days before their awards in 2018, and they were the first ones that said, actually, Incredibles 2 is not winning, it's Spider-Verse. So they're going to continue that. They're going to follow that up with Spider-Verse winning here, but Boy and the Heron could totally challenge it as a more criticky movie. And at the LA Film Critics Association, I'm going to say that Boy and the Heron does take it there. And National Society of Film Critics does not give an animation prize.
I'm going Spider-Verse for both, though. I just think this is steamrolling. It's sweeping anywhere where it can win. Now let's move into a category that is at all 3 of these bodies, and that is Best Foreign Language Film. And we can kind of do this two-part here. We can do foreign language film and nonfiction film, because these are both at all 3 of these critic circles. So at New York, I have Zone winning film. I don't think Zone's winning both. So
no, it's not.
And I'm going to be a little bit crazy. I don't think they're going to go down and move the fall. I think that they are wanting to shout out something else, and that something else is Perfect Days.
Interesting. I'm going to say Anatomy of a Fall at New York. Like you said, if I have Zone of Interest winning Best Feature here, I cannot have it winning Best Foreign Language, which means Anatomy of a Fall takes it. Perfect Days could, though. You're totally right about that. I could also see Taste of Things happen at New York, because a lot of the big New York critics really, really love Taste of Things. It actually just came second place in IndieWire's final ranking of the best films of the year, and IndieWire has a big sway on the New York Film Critics Circle. So maybe Taste of Things takes this, but instead I am going to ride with Anatomy of a Fall.
And over at the documentary prize at this group, looking at their track record, they don't really have much of an accurate track record. So I am just going to be basic and say Mariupol, because when in doubt, just go Mariupol. I know that didn't work at the Gothams, but hey, the breadcrumbs were there. We should have saw. We even both talked like, is Mariupol going to win? I don't know. They don't have the best track record. $4 was right there. So maybe $4 wins here, but you don't have Mariupol. What do you have winning at nonfiction film at New York?
For the last 5 years, they have actually gotten 5 for 5 right for Oscar films, which definitely changes my mind a little bit. Because I was going to say Orlando, My Political Biography is like a totally out there sort of different prize, because they've done Minding the Gap, Honeyland, Time, Flea, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. But that said, we have a new Frederick Wiseman film this year that's getting great reviews. They've awarded him in the past, and he's getting very old, so maybe this might be one of the last times to award him. So, you know what? I'm going to say Menu Plaisir Les Trois Gros wins.
We should just finish off New York Film Critics Circle because we're here. Best first film, Past Lives, give me that.
Yeah, Past Lives wins. Easy. New York Film Critics Circle is going to love Past Lives. It's even possible that it wins in another category like Screenplay or even like Best Director.
And now that moves us to the LA Film Critics Circle. So let's dive back a little bit to some of these awards that we just talked about. Best Foreign Language Film. I don't have Zone winning film, so it can win foreign language here.
Yes, I completely agree. Zone of Interest does not win the main prize at LA, so it probably will win this one.
And that moves us over to documentary feature. I have Mariupol. Do you?
I think I have Mariupol, but that said, in the past few years, they've done Shirkers, American Factory, Time, Summer of Soul, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. So that's 2 out of 5 for Oscar winners. While I want to say Mariupol, I could also see this going to like Four Daughters.
I mean, we just bit on the Mariupol over $4. Maybe it comes back to bite me as well here at the LA Film Critics Circle. And now moving over to the National Society of Film Critics and Best Foreign Language Film. I don't have Zone winning, so it can win here.
Well, I do have Zone winning, so I'm going with Anatomy of a Fall.
So now that moves us over to nonfiction film, and I am basic here because I am going with a sweep of 20 Days in Mariupol. People will buy into it that it is the frontrunner. It's not Beyond Utopia. It's not Still, if people believe that. It's Mariupol.
I'm going to go Four Daughters here. It feels like the type of film that would win at the National Society of Film Critics. It's very highbrow. And looking at some of their past winners, again, they went with Flea, they went with Honeyland, they went with All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. It feels very akin to those films.
And now to close out, let's go back to the LA Film Critics Association because they have 3 awards that no one else gives out. So let's start off with what I would say is probably the easiest one here, and that is Best Production Design, Barbie.
It's Barbie. I'd say actually 2 out of 3 of these awards are really easy because Barbie is winning production design, although small chance for Poor Things.
I could see Zone. If they want to go crazy.
I don't think they would. I think that they're going to go for something that's much more obvious. What have they done over the past 5 years? Let me just take a look. So over the past 5 years, they did Black Panther, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mank, Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
Yeah.
Based pick. Dear God. And then Avatar The Way of Water.
Even more based pick.
So they like those. I mean, they did Black Panther, they did Avatar, they did Barb and Star. They like those
they like the big
ones,
yeah.
blockbusters, big, showy. And Barbie feels like Barb and Star. I mean, it's even in the name. So
if we talk about Barbie taking a win, every time you mention Barbie, you kind of have to mention Oppenheimer because best editing. Yes. If we have Oppenheimer in film, we have in director, we have in lead performances, it's going to win this as well. It's
going to win editing for sure. Over the past 5 years, they have given it to Aftersun, Summer of Soul, The Father, Apollo 11, Minding the Gap. So actually,
cool
of
picks.
The last 5, 3 of them have been documentary. None of them have been their top winner, too, because they didn't give it to Tar last year. So maybe that's a slight against Oppenheimer. Interesting.
I haven't seen enough documentaries this year outside of like the 3 or 4 that I have seen, and none of them really screen editing winners. So you've seen Mariupol. Do you think that is a possible editing winner?
It could, but it doesn't feel the same way that some of the other ones that they had there, like Summer of Soul or Apollo 11 does. You know what? I had Oppenheimer before, but looking at this list, I'm going to go with Zone of Interest.
I like it. I like it. More zone points, the better for me. So to close us out, we have what I think is the most cool award any of these places have, and that is Best Music, because we love recognizing music because there's not many precursors for music. Kills the Flower Moon. Let's get some representation. Give it there.
Over the past 5 years, they went with If Beale Street Could Talk, I Lost My Body, Soul, Parallel Mothers, and RRR. That is
such a wide variety.
Damn good variety of films. And instead of Killers of the Flower Moon, instead of Oppenheimer, which are the two presumed frontrunners, I think this is where we get the beginning of The Boy and the Heron sweeping critics groups.
Boo.
I think it makes so much sense.
That's where the fun comes, because if you out there subscribe, that way you can come back to this video when it happens. You can tell me I'm dumb, or on the flip side, you can say, Matt, you're dumb. It was never going to happen.
Well, we can wait one day and see the results of the New York Film Critics Circle. We are going to be so wrong on this. We are going to be so goddamn wrong. It's going to be embarrassing. But that's what early Oscar season is all about.
Yeah.
Like, that's the game right now, is we are so wrong early on so that we can hopefully be right down the road.
Well, you know what would be, awesome of New York Film Critics Circle? If anyone's out there, they're voting still, I have the best winner for you. Best actor, Andrew Scott, forget about him. Joaquin Phoenix, Napoleon, give it to us. It's what the people want.
No, stop it.
It's
Get
what
out
the
of
people
here.
want.
It is not what the people want. Get your damn face out of here with Joaquin Phoenix. You kidding me? Fuck off with that. Dear Lord.
Featured Globe Drama nomination. But speaking of the Globes, Globe predictions next week. But until then, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.